Hello.
Hi.
We are joined today by Jack, although you can't see him. Do you want to maybe try and tilt the camera?
I don't know. It's
Yeah, here he is.
Hi, Eric.
Hey,
This is an unprecedented streak.
of in-person episodes.
Yes, it's
Oh,
such a big deal.
yeah. Honestly, I think we could maybe stick with this. It's kind of
Once a month, you mean?
I don't know because I get busy with my new
He's
life
busy.
and don't
He's so
have
busy.
time to just remote
He's
Zoom
so
and
busy.
somehow have more time to drive all the way home and do it in person.
All right. Anyway, welcome everyone to episode, what number is it? 21? 22?
Oh, 21.
Is it
Wait,
21?
no, 22.
Is it 22? Okay, welcome to episode 22, the Mom and Eric podcast. I figured we should say the name of the podcast every once in a
No,
while.
what? No.
Welcome to episode
Who?
22 of the Mom and
The
Eric
only people who
podcast.
are listening are people who know it's the Mom and Eric podcast. So.
Okay. All right. Welcome. So today we're going to be talking about Alien or the Alien franchise, the Alien movie franchise. I was thinking about what we were going to actually be talking about today because one of the things that, a little bit of backstory. Recently, Annie started watching the Alien movies out of nowhere. This was partially because of her boyfriend. They just decided to go and see Alien Romulus, which is the latest Alien movie that's now in the theaters. So she went to see Alien Romulus without any knowledge or backstory about the Alien movies whatsoever. She had not seen the original Alien or Aliens. And then Eric, who has seen Aliens, I actually, that was one of the movies that I suggested that we watch together. I think we saw it together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you showed me.
Yeah. And then Eric embarked on his own little discovery project where then he went back to watch Alien. And then this weekend, the whole family was together unexpectedly this weekend, and then they all decided to watch Alien Covenant together. So, in other words, Eric and Annie have been filling in pieces of their alien lore. Um, Dave, my husband, and his father, surprisingly, I think has probably out of all of us seen the most alien movies. I have seen Aliens, and three and four. And I have probably the sharpest memory of what happens in the first two. I watched three and four kind of in a blur like this a little bit. So anyway, I thought that it was hilarious when I was listening to all of you watch Alien Covenant yesterday. I thought it was hilarious because everybody was reacting to how much knowledge they had, of the whole franchise and the backstory. Everyone was reacting to that, and then so everyone was reacting in a very idiosyncratic way. And they were also reacting in ways that felt very true to their personalities. So like Annie was screaming at the screen, "Why are you so stupid? Why are you always so stupid? Why do you pick up things that you're not supposed to touch, like on an alien planet?" And you were going, "Ooh, no, okay, whatever." So it was very funny listening to the
I'm
commentary
pretty
from
glad I
afar.
went into that blind, as you had told me that Prometheus came before, and I was like, oh, fuck it, I don't care.
Yeah,
And then thank God, because
you
I
did
mean,
exactly say that. He was like, "Fuck it, I don't care. I
yeah,
don't want to watch Prometheus. It looks really boring."
I don't know. Like, I think the lore of the Alien movies is super interesting.
Yes,
Like, it's a very interesting world they've painted, especially with the different creatures.
yes.
Um,
So I think we're going to be talking about the franchise today overall, like the
yeah,
concept,
yeah,
and how well it works and how well it works as expressed in different movies.
yeah, sure,
Yeah. All right. So why don't we start with the original Alien?
yeah.
All right. But
What?
but first of all, do you want to talk about the things that why let's go on the train you were on in terms of
No, it's,
no, no, no. Like what do you like so much about the Alien movies? You especially liked Alien. He went back and watched
yes.
Alien.
The
Yeah.
Alien, the first Alien movie was amazing. It was, I mean, when you put it into context that nobody knew at all what like this was,
Yeah.
and it wasn't in the cultural zeitgeist, it makes it that much more incredible, kind of what they were able to achieve,
Yes.
and the reason why it became so iconic. Um,
It is such an iconic film.
yeah, I
That's
mean,
weird. Why is it so iconic
yeah,
though?
before I watched it, or before you showed me Aliens, I of course knew about the popping out of the chest
Yes.
and that sort of trope, and what the alien looked like,
Right.
just like
terrifying
Yeah.
insect-like
Yeah.
ginormous xenomorphs.
Yeah. And to be introduced to it through aliens was interesting. I think um it was a good choice though because it definitely attached my enjoyment to that world and the movies.
Yeah,
Because it is just a more enjoyable movie.
yeah.
Um it's is Aliens on the sort of level of artistry and um kind of brilliance of the first one? I don't think so. I mean, I think it's like
No, no, that's an interesting point because you said that before. You said that you probably loved Aliens the most,
yeah,
but you thought Alien was a better movie.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just um so much about like the way it was designed was
Yes, it
too
is an
perfect.
incredibly well-designed film.
And I think it does a better job than Jaws in terms of like not showing you the monster and leaving it up to like the presence of the monster is enough for you to feel,
That's a great point.
frightened.
Yeah, that's a great
Um
point.
and because they
Dread, it's a constant sense of
yes.
dread and growing dread too.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
don't even show the alien much in the first one anyways. Like and
No.
it's only one of them, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, it's one.
Yes.
And that's what makes
You don't really get a full-on terrifying glimpse of the
yeah.
alien except for maybe once.
And that's what makes the second one so dope because
Yeah,
it's
the
like
second one is so
they didn't
many
even call it
variants.
Alien 2, it's Aliens. Like there's more of them. Like
There's more,
that's
and they're
all you
they're
need.
more terrifying.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know what's interesting about this out of sequence order and then appreciating the movies in retrospect? I do think that the first Alien is more of a cinephile movie,
Yeah.
and so first of all, it should be given all the props for establishing the franchise. So it was insanely original in terms of how it shot a sci-fi movie. And some of the things I think were really interesting about the choices of the first Alien were that it felt very gritty and grimy, like it felt like a real ship, a real salvage ship in the middle of space. So space actually looked terrifying and dark, which is really what space is. So it didn't have this brightly sanitized, like brightly lit view of
Yeah.
space. It actually, and so many sci-fi shows have borrowed from that
Yeah.
look and feel. So many sci-fi shows like feature people enslaved on mining planets or like in really, like they're really grim sort of bootlegging situations or
Yeah.
salvage situations
Yeah.
or and so I think that Alien, the first one, directed by Ridley Scott, really established this sort of grimy underbelly that the sort of grimy underbelly of society exists no matter where you go.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then it layers on top of it this insane really a horror plot, although it is a sci-fi plot, but it is the sense of dread. It is basically like, Friday the 13th, Jason the Stalker, but in the form of terrifying presence that is, as you said, really well said. I think that's a great point, hinted at, you
Yeah.
know. What's interesting to me is that you saw Aliens first. I also saw Aliens first
Oh,
before
cool.
going back to see Alien. But the way that I saw Aliens was because I had a serious boyfriend in high school, and he went to see Aliens in the theater, and he came back, and his heart was racing, and he knew that I couldn't bear movies like that, like super suspenseful movies like that. So he was in a total keyed up state of agitation and excitement, and he explained the entire plot of that movie to me bit by bit by bit.
Mhm.
And especially like talked about the theme of sort of the corporate evil guy, like it's always the Wayland Corporation who's always trying to monetize and weaponize the alien. So there's the corporation's always the bad guy. The alien isn't even really the bad guy. That's the other thing. Like you come to understand through this franchise that it's the people who are consciously making bad
Yeah.
decisions
Yeah.
because the aliens are just being who they are, which
Mhm.
is just terrifying, but
Yeah.
that's what they do, right? And so and Ripley actually says that, like you don't she says that, she goes, you don't actually see she goes, I don't know who's worse, you or the aliens.
Yeah.
She goes, because they're not at least you don't see them always trying to fuck each other over the way that you are,
Yeah.
you know.
True.
That's a great line. That's a
Yeah.
great, great line. But anyway, so I heard about Aliens first, and then I watched Aliens because my curiosity got the better of me. And having had my high school boyfriend explain the whole plot took the edge off and let me watch a movie that I normally would not
Yeah.
watch. And I thought that Aliens was a great action adventure film. I thought that it was as great as The Terminator, also made by James Cameron.
Yeah.
So it was so much action, so much character, and in particular, I was so drawn to the central character of Ripley, as played by Sigourney Weaver. She just embodied this reluctant hero, this reluctant heroine, and that was really just forecast in the original Alien movie. In Alien, she is the lone survivor, and in Aliens, she's really coming to her own and like conquering her fears, and really getting and becoming the sort of kick-ass woman
Yeah.
and now she has become again one of the most iconic things about this franchise. Like
Yeah.
the central figure of Ripley, the character of Ripley, and there are many Alien movies without Ripley. But she is considered to be one of the most iconic female heroines of all time.
Yeah.
Like people have said that she was one of the most influential female characters and different than anything that they had seen
Yeah.
before. And she just won a big Lifetime Achievement Award in Venice at the
Mm,
Venice Film Festival
that's
because of
great.
this. Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning that I was fully expecting to go into Alien with her being the main character and
Yeah.
like, oh, she's like a smart,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
pilot or whatever.
Yeah. It was
But
out of
it
order, right?
yeah, but literally you didn't it was so understated. Like her presence and everybody's like whole role was very understated because they were just people, like just
Yes.
very normal people
Yes.
that normal people, but doing like space jobs, and they were you had the people who were like obviously gonna die, like they saying the things like, "Oh, I can't wait till I fucking get my money," and like their motivations were very clear.
Yes.
Um, but Sigourney Weaver's character Ripley was sort of like she was so relatable because of like she was the only one speaking the truth,
Right.
or speaking like her mind,
Yes.
and not just like trying to feed some agenda. The captain of that ship was so stupid. Literally, like I wrote this in my review, but it's like literally, all right, let's split up and look for clues,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
Scooby Doo.
One rule did not split up.
Yeah. But he also that actor did such a good job of like seeming like he didn't really know. Like he was like, all right, let's split off into two groups here.
I think it's
Maybe
Tom Skerritt, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's Tom Skerritt.
And then same obviously with what's his name, Ian Holmes.
Yes.
He who played the android.
Yeah.
Great, pretty crazy twist. Also, I at first I was like I thought it was stupid, but then I think it was worked in pretty
Oh,
well.
you mean in Romulus?
No,
Oh,
in Alien.
okay.
I almost thought the android subplot was stupid,
Okay.
um, but it aided to the whole corporate like greed like
Yeah.
subplot and all that stuff. And he did a really great job in that movie because I could tell right away he was like a little bit of a creep, or like he was just weird in
Yeah.
general, just based on the way he talked to Ripley. Um, and even subtle details, like they didn't even fully acknowledge it. They only acknowledged that he was like on some other directive for the company, but just the detail that he had like a bunch of like porn magazines like plastered
Yeah.
on his wall, and like
Yeah.
stuff like that. That really gives you insight into the whole sort of depravity of you know his character, which he was very subtle with.
Yes, the android, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that was actually a funny reference in Aliens too, because the second android
Yeah,
was just
Bishop.
like, what model was that? Oh yeah, they were always
Yeah.
really glitchy. He was like, nobody could override my protocols. I'm
Yeah.
I'm like programmed to be really, really good,
Yeah.
So anyway, so I then like you went back to see Alien, after I saw Aliens. I saw I think Aliens in college,
Yeah.
and then I went back to see Alien. And by that point, I was becoming more of a film head, as you and I have become like more film heads. And then back then I appreciated the fact that Alien was just a really brilliant establishing set piece.
Yeah.
Like for a so let's just talk about why this is such a successful franchise overall, and then we'll
Mhm.
talk about individual movies and how they set up.
Definitely.
And so, but I thought the first Alien was so incredibly well shot. And
Yeah.
I was startled by how little action there was in the first Alien. Like the entire time, it's like you were hanging on by your fingernails and you were aware, you were totally experiencing the dread.
Mhm.
And then also, sorry to sound like a film bro, the mise en scène, but the mise en scène was masterful,
Yeah.
Like you felt this claustrophobic sense. And when the ship opened up to sort of more cavernous spaces, you felt even more dread. Like you couldn't figure out if it was better to be trapped in the alien. And then over time, you kept on discovering, like through Alien and then the second Aliens,
Mhm.
you kept on discovering worse and worse things about the aliens. Like it just felt like there were more and more walls closing in.
Yeah.
So to begin with, in terms of like what has made this franchise so successful. Because in some ways, I think that there's so many lessons for how you would want to launch a successful franchise based on the Alien franchise. It is a huge money-making, iconic money-making franchise.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's one of those franchises where movie studios, like the whole business model of making movies is changing because of streaming and other reasons, right? And streaming platforms and other reasons. But if you are in the content production business and you ever hope to have a franchise that's as iconic as Mission Impossible, as the Alien franchise, as Predator, when they tried to merge those and integrate those worlds for a while, Star Wars, you're always wondering, how do I A, build the world that everybody wants to keep on returning to? And B, how do I find fresh ways to tell the story if I want this thing to keep on spitting out cash
Hmm.
over the decades,
Yeah.
over the decades? Because Alien was made in the 1970s. So for the franchise to still be going well
Yeah.
is extraordinary.
Hmm.
It's extraordinary that it's still going well.
Yeah.
And and so there are so many elements about this that are sort of good lessons. So number one, I think your first movie, the alien set piece, has to be brilliant. I think it has to be brilliant on a cinematic level.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it just has to be a good movie. So I don't think that there can be any lazy storytelling with a film like that. I think that you have to do exactly what Jaws did, what you said Jaws did, which is that you have to reveal just enough, not too much.
Hmm.
You can't weigh down with exposition. You have to be really, really efficient
Yeah.
about plot. So you can't have all of the characters going talky, talky, talky. And then you also have to be really efficient in terms of establishing details. I had forgotten that thing about the porn magazine and the Android,
Yeah.
but that's like a perfect example where you show, don't tell,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you have like, you establish all these like character glitches and you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then in the aliens, in the second one, you're like, oh no, that was a glitchy model, right? All of this is incredibly efficient storytelling and it's done really well.
Hmm.
So that's number one. Number two, I want to hear your thoughts on this too. Number two, I think that the design of the aliens is absolutely
Yeah.
iconic,
Yeah. I mean, it is iconic.
terrifying.
I think,
So
well, there was
terrifying.
definitely a huge, well, as much as little as I know about the actual franchise as a whole, I remember how crazy it was when the Covenant trailer was released
Yes,
because
you love the credit sequence too.
the credit sequence
The way
of,
that the titles come
oh
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I like that was something I was unaware that it even originated with the first movie.
Yeah.
But when I realized that when I was watching it, I had so much more respect for that
Yes,
because
yes.
it's so cool. Like we don't do cool things anymore.
Right.
There's a reason why the Covenant trailer was so huge, and even somebody like me who I don't watch that stuff, saw because there was that shot, that iconic shot of like the alien on top of the ship, and
Yes.
it was like fully realized
Yes.
in like today's sort of current technology in terms of
Yes.
CGI
Yeah.
and visual effects. I think a lot of why or studios are able to resurrect these franchises is because we have new stuff and a new like color
And that's a
coat.
really good
They have
point.
a new coat of paint to put over
Yes.
these, and that alone is exciting because you know, and I could talk forever about this, but um you can in the first Alien movie you can see like its age, like in the seven, like it's a
Hmm.
lot like Star Wars. Like I could tell the ships were like miniatures,
Yeah.
and I could see like a lot of the artistic intent.
Yes.
And I
But you can
think
see, it holds up, but you can still
yes,
see the age.
yes.
Yes.
And I honestly,
That's a really good point.
it makes me really think about. I mean, because I just watched Romulus too. Like it makes me really think about
Eric just came back from Romulus.
yeah, like literally two seconds ago. Um, like the
Which I won't go see.
because we keep talking about it with Deadpool and Wolverine, and then with we mentioned with all the Marvel movies, like how visual effects you don't see as much artistic intent
Right,
anymore.
right, right.
And it's more just like making it look good.
Yeah.
Which sometimes it doesn't even, because they're overworked. But this is all to say that's an exciting factor is like seeing it in this new light. Which I think Romulus delivered on.
Yes.
And Covenant maybe took a little too far
Yes.
because you just saw too much, I think.
Yeah. That's it's a
And
balance.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um
So so we have the opening set piece was fabulous, a great film that holds up,
mhm.
right? The production design, and particularly the creature design, is amazing.
Hmm.
So it's not just the aliens themselves, because they are designed to be utterly terrifying.
Yeah,
And why are they so terrifying? Because their blood is venomous. They have like transparent teeth,
acidic,
acidic.
acidic.
And then they also have, they look like insects, but they are also vaguely humanoid in shape.
Yeah,
I just want to name what makes them so terrifying because it
yeah,
helps make them a little bit less terrifying.
yeah.
The other thing I want to call out about the production design is that every element of the alien movie and then especially Aliens. And I think that James Cameron, as much as I make fun of him as a shit storyteller, I think that James Cameron is brilliant at set design or production design or whoever his production designer is. But I think that he has really incredibly detailed visions.
Hmm.
So when they visit the colony or whatever the on planet whatever the name is, XO4 or
Yeah,
I whatever, when they go visit the colony and the colony has been deserted, because the colonists are all being cocooned or potted by the aliens. But when the colony feels very much like a recently abandoned space colony, so as Ripley and the Marines are navigating, pulling up the blueprints and everything, it's incredibly, incredibly well done.
yeah.
And there's an iconic shot where they've alerted the aliens to their presence and they know that the aliens are coming to get them,
Mm.
after they've found their nest, And there's an incredibly iconic shot where um, they look up to see in the tunnels
Yeah,
and they
and
see all the
all the
aliens.
aliens crawling in the
Yes,
vents.
which
Yeah.
is, by the way, has been replicated so many times in cinema,
Yes.
and in particular in
In
Endgame.
Endgame.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
when they're coming through that tunnel,
yeah,
and it's
and
red even
it's
like
red. Yeah, it has to be red lit.
yeah,
You have to get this glimpse that there are like multiple
yeah.
like
And they just look
non-human creatures.
crazy too because
Yeah,
they're
they
like
like
crawling
like
through.
crawling. Yes,
Yeah.
there are all these terrifying elements that are repeated. And when I saw that scene in Endgame, where Hawkeye like lights up his arrow and you see all those creatures, I'm like, oh my God, that's aliens right there. But the set design is so well done. Again, you get this feeling where people were trying to carve out this habitable existence, this habitation in space, one of the most inhospitable, like this whole business. If you read as much sci-fi fiction as I do, you realize that there's just so much to colonization that
Yeah.
people don't think about.
Yeah.
It's finding compatible atmosphere, compatible, like it's trying to see if you can like find enough sustenance, like what's your power source going to be? Like it's
Yeah.
all these things,
Yeah.
that technology alone, even with all the best technology in the world, you still struggle. Oh, that's another thing. Okay, that goes to my next thing that the franchise does really well. I'm moving on from production design and lit
Great.
design. It's that it hits his theme. The best examples of the alien movies do the central themes, express the central themes of that franchise really well. So one of the central themes of that franchise is that the aliens, this is what I mean about them not being the bad guy, they are just who they are.
Yeah.
So you can fight them with the most advanced technology, weaponry, etc.,
Yeah.
and they are just fucking gonna do exactly what they're gonna
That
do.
is that is like a huge accomplishment on like the first movies where
Yes.
is that literally not on with the core xenomorph like aliens,
Yeah.
not a single thing has changed
Right.
like from how their inception. Like
Right.
you got the egg, you got the thing,
Yeah, you
face
got the
comes out of
egg.
the person, boom, alien, then you're cooked,
Yes, yeah.
Like and while they've tried with this new one too, they've added like new, species of aliens.
I
Like
know.
nobody gives a fuck. I don't give a fuck about those aliens.
Well, by the way, that started with
I
Prometheus and
know.
then continued with Covenant.
Yeah, and honestly, don't care.
I know. I don't
They're stupid.
I'm really irritated by that too. Engineer,
What
face hugger,
what's the
like neomorph, like who cares?
what's the phrase like why mess up what's already good?
Yes, exactly.
But like and yeah, despite like how many different angles, like you said, they come at it, it's like it doesn't do shit.
No.
No.
No. But anyway, but the theme about how the alien is going to alien no matter what,
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean? That it's basically saying I think, this is my theory. I think that the whole Alien franchise on one level are just sci-fi horror movies, suspense movies, but on another level, I think that they are a commentary on the hubris of humanity.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like it is the hubris of humanity in thinking that you can commercialize everything. So that's the comment of the Wayland Corporation making all these terrible choices. And it's the hubris of the worst of humanity, thinking that you can conquer it. And meanwhile, the aliens are just going to keep on alien.
Yeah.
They're just going to keep on being terrifying. They're going to keep on trying to reproduce. They are basically their most primitive selves, and they have found no need to evolve. Why should they need to? Why would they? I think actually one of the androids and dissecting this might have made that comment, in dissecting a alien, like a face hugger alien. I think he said something like, this is just the most fascinating, exquisitely, like it's like sharks. They've evolved to be exactly what they are supposed to be,
Yeah.
and then human beings, on the other hand, we just get it in our heads that we're the strongest, and then we constantly come up against our own limitations.
Yeah.
So that's another theme that I think that they do really, really
Yeah.
well. And then the last theme I do think they do really well is just the heroism, the unexpected, how can I say this? Extreme situations will reveal who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So this is every character is an opportunity to show whether they will either rise to the occasion of being hunted, which I don't think I would do very well. I think I'd be terrible in that situation. I
Yeah, but
might
the
be
fact
like,
that
mm,
you have that sort of outlook would probably give a better sign that you would fare better than
maybe.
most people. Like as opposed to the fucking army military heads
Yes.
like in Aliens, like who were like, yeah, I can't wait to fucking kill these aliens.
Yeah.
Like, and they did. Ripley literally tried to explain exactly
What they were.
what they were,
And they wouldn't listen.
which maybe could have avoided, but she just gave up. Like
Yeah.
she was like, okay, I literally, you guys are cooked. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. But it was really interesting because aliens actually, with that group of Marines,
Mm.
they were the best in sort of revealing what their failings and their strengths were. So Hicks was totally inexperienced. Like he confessed at the outset that
He'd only
he
been on two missions,
2 missions,
two
and both
combat missions.
and
One of them
simulated.
was that one
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
they were on.
Yeah. And that was terrifying. I mean, can you imagine that was, by the way, the most perfect moment of, oh.
Yeah, yeah,
Holy
yeah,
and then whatchamacallit, and then even like Bill Paxton's character, I forget what his name was. He kept on running his mouth off, and he was so annoying and constantly being disciplined. But at the end, he when people shouted at him to get it together, he
yeah,
basically pulled it together,
yeah, yeah,
And then, oh, maybe it was Hicks, not Hicks. Hicks is the hero, the guy played by Michael Bean. But anyway, the guy who turned out to be
yeah,
the heroic Marine,
yeah,
he's the one who like showed like he was going to be super calm, and they showed his character in little snippets. Like for
yeah.
example, when they did the drop
Hmm.
onto the planet, he was asleep while other people were like sort of freaking out at how
Yeah,
turbulent that flight was.
yeah. And his moments with Ripley that he had, like,
Yes, it was so cute.
they were cute. I actually didn't fully interpret those as romantic.
No,
Like,
I didn't either.
I thought they were just like, this is just a person to person, like,
Yeah, 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 me too.
like he's there to do his job, she's there to do her job
Yes,
thing.
that's right. And
Yeah,
they were trying to be human with one another in a time of extreme stress.
yeah,
So like when he strapped that locator thing and he goes, it doesn't mean we're engaged or anything.
yeah,
And she just like laughed for a second. I didn't interpret it as romantic either. I
yeah,
interpreted it as a let's just be human and acknowledge that we are human beings
yeah,
together,
yeah.
which is incredible.
I think Alien, another thing both the first one, two movies get really great is that while there are stupid decisions and stupid people, like it doesn't feel stupid to to the movie, like
Yes,
or to the plot
that's
of the
right.
movie. Like it makes sense why they made those decisions.
Right,
Um and because I think somebody could very easily be annoyed with um how stupid they were being, like the military especially. Like
right,
they should have listened to Ripley, all this stuff, like obviously. But like the fact that Ripley sort of just understood already, like that was what was happening,
right.
made us feel, oh, okay, well, we know what's going on, and
Yes,
it's not going to stop her from trying to save everybody,
right.
obviously. And then same with the kid, like little annoying kid, like you. I hate that. I hate little annoying kids in movies. But Newt, I thought was amazing because they showed immediately that you just had to look at her face like to
Yes,
know like the trauma she'd already been
yeah.
through. um and she was still pretty cute.
Yeah, 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 she was
Like
cute.
and the screaming obviously is it's screaming, but
Yeah,
like
it was very high pitched. Super
what were we
high
gonna
pitched.
do, what were we gonna do? And
Yeah.
she even helped too,
Yeah,
because
she
she
did
knew
help.
the vent systems
And
and
she
that
also knew
stuff.
that they came out at night.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. So overall, I think we're solidly in agreement that Alien and Aliens were the best.
Yeah.
I've seen 3 and 4. 3 is interesting because of your David Fincher movie,
Oh.
who I have a lot of respect for, but I don't like. So I've seen more David Fincher movies than I care to admit.
Hmm.
But I guess between Fight Club and Aliens 3 and 7, I just cannot with David Fincher's view of the world. It's
Yeah.
just so
Gross.
gross. It's just so disgusting. And he really just zooms in on all the slime and all the rotting corrosion of whatever could possibly exist.
Yeah.
Like that is his vision, is one of rotting corrosion.
Hmm.
So, but I think it's a fine movie. I think that by Alien 4, the whole thing about corporate greed and trying to constantly weaponize the alien species, because Ripley is sort of trying to she's been infected in Aliens 3 and 4, and she's still they're still trying to co-opt her and preserve her to be a vehicle for alien to weaponize the alien DNA.
Yeah.
Anyway, like for example in Alien 4, I think it's Alien 4, she comes across oh yeah, it's Alien 4. She comes across multiple versions of them trying to create a hybrid of humans and her DNA
Oh.
and the alien's DNA.
Yeah.
So she comes across multiple versions in the laboratory of herself, failed versions, where they didn't fail to fuse her with the DNA. It's disgusting. Anyway, so I think that 3 and 4, the concept gets played out. And so I think that they have tried now to revive and keep the franchise going with these prequel ones with Prometheus, with Covenant, and then Romulus takes place in the timeline very shortly after the first Alien. So what's your take on how you did not like Covenant?
No.
You don't want to watch Prometheus.
No.
I don't want to see either one either.
Again, like especially the imagery they had in Covenant about whatever the civilization that was like destroyed.
Yeah.
And then that Michael Fassbender's, android,
Yeah.
whatever story was going on there, like
David Walter.
yeah,
Yeah.
I won't lie, it's still interesting. Like
Uh-huh.
it's still cool. It's just like not, I don't care.
You don't care.
It's maybe going a bit too deep because even knowing or even having seen Aliens and then watching Alien, like you would think that it would ruin, the suspense or, the allure of like what these creatures are.
Yeah.
It just like it could be literally anything. It's like the way that they set up the entire context of the story, it's like this could have been from anywhere. This could anybody could be here for any reason and you don't know and you can just only guess. And that imagination is like really exciting.
Yeah.
So when they sort of just display it out there for everybody to
Yeah.
know or see that then it could be good because it could serve a different purpose, which I'm sure some people definitely thought with those prequels, but I just don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Romulus, on the other hand, was like just like an entertaining um entrance into that franchise.
Oh
Like,
wait, so you thought Covenant was bad, but still entertaining.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and Covenant was entertaining. Like
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, you're still seeing these people, these
Get
stupid
chewed up.
people, get eaten and stuff. Like sometimes that could be satisfying. Um, and I thought the main character of Covenant was cool. I like that this is a franchise with female leads. That's cool. And that they're actually smart. And then try their best to
There's a little bit
combat the
of a wink,
aliens.
wink, nod, nod that you can tease Eric about not liking
No,
female-directed movies or female characters.
I think that's a good trope to have for these movies.
Yeah.
What was it? What?
I was
Oh,
gonna
but
like,
it was entertaining
it was
because
entertaining, but not good.
no,
So,
right?
but you thought Alien Romulus was a little bit better and also entertaining.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It was just a better movie.
I think it was yeah.
Okay.
I'd give it a solid 4.
Oh,
I
wow.
think so. Like it's
That's
just for
crazy.
something that held my interest and then also felt pretty consistent.
Why did you like it so much? And Dave liked it too. That was interesting. So when Dave came back Dave and Eric just went to see Alien Romulus and they just came back
Mm.
and Dave said that it was Alien, Aliens, and then all the other Alien movies were down here, but Alien Romulus
Yeah.
existed somewhere in the middle
Yeah.
here. Okay, so
I
what did
think
you like about Alien? What
I
made it better than Covenant?
I think that they they were sort of doing the same thing as like the as probably Aliens, and a little bit of Alien, but mostly
I
Alien.
know the plot, so yeah.
Yeah, okay, but they were doing the same thing, but they were doing it in like pretty inventive ways.
Right.
Like nothing that was like un terribly unique or extraordinary, just in a way that was like good
Efficient.
and efficient and entertaining. Like,
Were
I
you invested in the characters?
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
was. I think the main character Rain,
Hmm.
she was good. Um she I think anybody that like has
I appreciated the desperation of their motivations, by the way.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
of Romulus. Even
Yeah.
yeah,
Because
I sorry, I know it's funny like you read the plot and all that, but like it's funny that when you talk about it like you've seen it.
well, I mean, when I was reading the plot synopsis, I was sitting there thinking, how do they solve this issue of people being stupid enough to go back to that planet, right?
Yeah,
But
but they
then,
just didn't know,
no, I know they didn't
which is
know.
great. Which I think,
I
well,
think that solves it.
yeah,
Like by
yeah,
putting it in the timeline right after Alien. Like you can't just have corporate greed constantly hoodwinking people and being like, "Ooh,
yeah,
we need you to go salvage something," you
yeah,
know? And then so I think it helped. I think it helped that these characters had a desperation motive. You know, they
yeah,
were desperate to escape their shitty
yeah,
lives.
and it's and the cold like reality that Rain is faced with when she like did her work, she put in her hours and all that, and
Right,
then they still just said fuck you,
right,
and there's nothing she could do about it.
right.
That's just like that speaks to very true elements of society.
Yeah,
And
exploitation.
yeah, so it made the quest much more like or the inception of the quest much more understandable.
Yes.
Um
So you were rooting for the characters,
yeah,
and
and
you thought they told the story
I
well.
really liked I also liked the setup too because Andy the android, I thought he was great. That something I will just say now is like I'm these movies that I've seen at least they all give these actors like a really great opportunity to shine in these roles. Like they're very clearly defined roles.
Yeah.
Like this guy's the asshole, this girl's the main character.
Right, but they let you add some complexity to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said about somehow the stories, the best of the Alien movies, let people show unexpected sides of
Yeah.
themselves. You don't always just, they don't stay in their boxes that
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah, and they these like sort of interesting characters were put in like really interesting situations. Like I liked the use. It wasn't very prevalent because mainly it was just an entertaining action movie, but they did use silence pretty effectively in
Oh,
this new one.
like Alien
Yeah,
did.
like Alien. And I think well, Alien was
Aliens is not a silent movie.
no
The second one.
no, exactly. Yeah. And but Alien is known for that. And that's because they stretch it out way longer than they typically would.
Right.
And that was like a risk I think they took that I mean, admittedly, like sometimes I maybe was a little bored like watching it, but it was only because I was like, when is it coming? When is it coming? Like
Right.
but this one used that only when it was like it was just like a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
There's a part where they say, we have to walk through here, we have to heat up the room to our body temperature so that the little creatures can't see us, which is insane. Because if anything that the previous movies established, like if you're in a room with one of these fuckers, like you're dead, or they're coming after you.
Right.
So that was a new sort of lens to put on this whole creature that you could blind it essentially, which is cool. And then it obviously meant that at some point there's going to be a fucking ton of them like running after and chasing them, which like ended up paying off very heavily.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of setup and payoff in this new one that again wasn't like, oh my God, that was amazing, but it was like good. It just felt good. It was entertaining.
Yeah. I kind of want to wrap up, I think, by talking about franchises because I think there's an interesting thing out there where people say, "Oh my God, why are there no new ideas
Yeah,
in the movie industry? Like,
yeah,
why do people keep on going back to sequels and reboots? You know, why can't people be more original? You
yeah,
know?" And I think that like most things that are stated in a binary way, I actually think that there's some truth to that, but not a lot of truth to that. So I think that the Alien franchise is a really, really good example of a franchise where you could see people making Alien movies forever, you know, and just, you could see brilliant filmmakers extracting a really good film out of it. You know,
Yeah.
they decide what point in the timeline or what part of the universe they want to occupy, and then they make a really good movie out of it, or a half decent movie out of it. I mean, by all accounts, Alien Romulus is considered to be a half decent entry into the franchise,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? And so I think that if the franchise has a really solid footing, like Star Wars, for example, or Star Trek, for example, you know, like if you get enough fans on board where they understand the basic rules, okay, aliens have acidic blood, they don't care about what you try to do. Okay, maybe you can find new ways to kill them, but really spacing them in the airlock is the only way, is the best way possible. So if you, in other words, if you get enough of a fervent fandom that just sort of keeps the basic rules in mind, then you can kind of do whatever you want on top of the with the storytelling, you know? And so I think about this all the time because I have such strong attachments to different parts of the Star Trek franchise. So Dad was asking me why I watch this one Star Trek series, Strange New World, you know? I've been watching the latest season of it. And I did not abandon it the way that I abandoned Discovery, which I hated. And so I hated Discovery for just a number of reasons. Um, and in particular, because the captains in that series in Discovery, they were so emotional all the time. They were like having hysterics or freaking out all the time. And I was like, that's just not Starfleet. You know, it violated my canon. It violated my sense of the rules. But I think that Alien is a really good franchise to build on because of the strength of the original two movies, you know, and the strength of the fact that filmmakers like James Cameron, like um, Ridley Scott, like David Fincher took the time to make a decent entry into the, you know, Aliens franchise. That's number one. They've gotten really good actors
Yeah.
in those parts.
Yeah.
Really good actors, actually. I mean, I can think of like n numerous performances that I've really admired, you
Yeah.
know, in these. And that's a matter of script and acting, you
Yeah.
know, how the characters are written and then also
Yeah.
how they were acted.
I think the question they're bringing up of like sequels and franchises building on thing or building on what's already there
Hmm.
is really good because I'm trying to think of like sequels I liked and how much they took from the original and what they added.
Yeah.
Um and more often than not I was more attached to sequels that just did something new.
Yes,
Um
exactly.
and in Romulus I don't
It's
think.
why I didn't like Picard and I love The Next Generation,
Mhm.
the series, because Picard was not enough of a departure from
Yeah.
Next Generation
Yeah, yeah.
to be it's the same characters.
Yeah.
And so they eventually ended up trafficking in
Yeah.
nostalgia.
I think, and I enjoyed Romulus on that front, but just like it sort of just barely was its own thing.
Oh,
I
interesting.
think it was like there were some obvious points where it harked back on the original movies.
Right.
It's some of which I appreciated and some of which I thought was like not necessary. There's one moment where Andy uh like kills the alien and he said or he's after he's saying like get away from her and then he like shoots it and he's like you bitch like he like tags you bitch to it,
Right.
which I liked it when he said get away from her because like that was a good callback. But then when he said you bitch, I was like, okay, that's felt a little
I
forced.
know, I
Like
know, I know.
that was such a Ripley thing. Like you
Yeah.
bitch. Like
I
especially because that alien that she killed was so clearly the mother of the aliens. So
yeah.
it just made more and she was sort of like a mirror. It was sort of mirroring the whole situation. So it felt very satisfying. But it didn't feel necessary in this movie.
I actually felt it was forced in the first one too.
No, you mean in Aliens?
Yeah.
No, I thought it was dope.
Oh, I thought it was dope that
Get
she
away from me. So that
I actually felt like she could have flamed. I think. Oh, that's right. She said in the airlock, in the hold, in the cargo hold, and not in the. I thought that the most effective moment in Aliens is when she flamed all the eggs.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
exactly.
but I don't. I
So
don't think. I think she could have come out with the loading machine that she was in
yeah,
without saying "Get away from her, you bitch."
right. Well, okay, something I was yearning. Well, this is what I'm about to say, which is what this movie's sort of built on a little
Uh-huh.
bit. But because all the ones I think are good, Aliens, and Alien
Uh-huh.
Romulus all end with like them um yeeting the alien out into space, like
That's
through the
really the best
airlock.
way to kill them, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Eating,
which is true.
eating.
But like there's something more satisfying about like definitively killing them, like and not like just like pushing them out.
I
So
agree.
like that's why Aliens like it was still a very satisfying ending. But what she needed to like because the only reason Ripley went on that journey was so that she wouldn't stop or she would stop having nightmares.
Right.
And the only way to do that is, in the context of the movie is to fucking just undeniably brutalize these fuckers, these aliens. Um, and I was missing that a little bit in the first two, just
Uh-huh.
because like, well, she got it a little bit. She like she had that moment where she was like, "Get away from her, you bitch!" And then all it's like, and then I was expecting like a definitive kill, but then they sort of tussled in the robot, and
Yeah,
then
but
like,
she eated her. Yeah.
yeah, and then she had this very heroic like climb out of the airlock, which I thought
Yeah.
was cool. But again, it wasn't like a definitive like "fuck you"
Yeah.
basically. And I think Romulus did that
Better?
a little bit, just but like,
Interesting.
well, because the main character Rain was like there was a little more indication of like a "fuck you" basically, and at the very end, the last alien she kills, like you barely hear it over all the noise, but she's like, "Fuck, motherfucker!" like so loud, like and that's when this giant cargo is being released, and the same thing happens, but like she like sort of kicks, and it's like a more definitive moment.
Yeah.
So I do like that, but again, it's sort of the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I yeah.
I'm already I'm saying the same things that happened in the first two movies happen in this one. Um,
But it was more definitive.
yeah,
It was more of a punch,
a
and you
little
like
bit.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
not enough that it was like its own thing, really.
Yeah, I thought that it was forced when Ripley said, "Get away from here, you bitch." Because I thought that at that moment in that final battle, the score was doing the work of the dialogue. So like for example, when Ripley's climbing out of the airlock, you hear the dun 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 dun, dun
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then she reaches over to get to the button. She's like dun dun dun, and then the
yeah,
score's like pounding in the background.
yeah,
And my the other thing is that I think that Sigourney Weaver is incredibly effective at conveying that get away from her, or
yeah,
I'm gonna kill you,
yeah,
motherfucker.
exactly.
When the definitive moment for me is when she's holding the flamethrower and looking at all the eggs, and she goes like this. She goes,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
she goes,
yeah,
she flames her.
yeah.
That's my favorite moment.
Uh-huh.
So when she says, "Get away from her, you bitch," it feels like they're overplaying the maternal theme. That she's feeling maternal towards the little girl.
Yeah.
And then she's feeling maternal towards her and she wants to protect her. And then she's also angry as hell,
Mhm.
But anyway, all right. So we like the franchise. It's not one of our favorite franchises by any means.
No.
Yeah, but it actually was it's enough. We have a lot of respect for the Alien franchise, I would say. We have a lot of respect for the things that they do well, and it's particularly we have a lot of respect when they do the movies well.
Mm.
So what's interesting to me about this franchise is neither you or me or Dad or Annie, any of us would say, "Oh, we're big Alien fans. Like we're big fans of this franchise." But yet Annie's been on a journey of exploration of the Alien universe. So she's now like 4 movies in, right? I'm 4 movies in. Dad is probably like 6 or 7 movies. He's probably seen them all actually. And then you're 4 movies in,
Mm.
correct? Right, 4 movies in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that collectively and very individually as a family, we've all developed this knowledge of the alien universe.
Yeah.
It's nothing like Marvel phase one between you and me. It's not like um Star Trek is for me. Do you know what I mean? Like we're not as deeply attached, but I think that this is a franchise that has done some really good things and we have a lot of respect for some of the films that came out.
Yeah, I mean,
Definitely.
I think
Definitely.
the mark of a good franchise is how much it kind of makes you want to watch more
Yes,
or makes you
exactly.
want more and like
Right.
or want more new things or want to know more about the world and stuff like that. Um and in this sense, I felt very motivated to watch all these movies because of that. But I guess the where it gets to the level of like how much we love like Marvel movies and stuff. Like that we've watched a lot of those movies so many times. And I think we just tend to gravitate more towards like the entertaining and emotional side of things. And if it can hit those points repeatedly, like that's what makes it like a very worthwhile and uh monumental franchise to us. So I guess like I really don't see myself going back to the first Alien. Like I thought it was a great movie. I would watch it again like as like a movie night.
I've only watched it, I think, 2 or 3 times. But
Yeah.
again, it's not, you're right. It's not a repeat
Yeah,
viewing.
especially because it's like a long movie.
Mhm.
Like actually it was a good length, but it just feels pretty long.
Long.
You're in that space for a long time.
Right.
Space. Fun. But like I'll watch Aliens any day, you know.
Yeah, it's less of a toll.
And I won't watch Alien Romulus any day. It was pretty fucked.
Yeah.
Like again, another thing that the new stuff is doing, like they show more because they show more visceral, like gooey fucking skin shit. That's what made me feel really uncomfortable. But
Body horror, they call
yeah,
it.
body horror. But Aliens I'll watch again. And that's like a class. So that's why I'll like I gave Alien 5 stars. Like 5 stars, no like though. But
This is
Aliens,
him instructing me again on
yeah,
the
I'm
on
just
how to nuance
I'm not
my
instructing. I'm
letterbox.
not instructing. I'm just showing what how I rate these things. And then Aliens to me is like a 4.5 with a leg,
Hmm.
you know. So that to me sort of shows what I where I'd go back
Yeah. Where's
and what I would
Covenant?
watch
What's
again.
Covenant?
Covenant was like a 2.5.
Oh, interesting. And then what's Romulus going to be?
I think a 4.
You know what's really funny is that I think that we have covered accurately what we like about the franchise, what we respect about the franchise, and the movies that are our favorite. But I think that when you fall far short of true fandom of a franchise, I saw this really funny tweet where the guy was like, "I don't know what's wrong with me. I really like the Acolyte. I really liked all the seasons of The
Oh
Mandalorian, and I really liked Solo, and I really liked Rogue
yeah,
One." He was like, he was basically like, I've liked, he goes because I've actually loved every single Star Wars series and movie that's come out. And I just love it. He goes, I love the universe. And that to me is actually deep, deep fandom. It's like how some people feel about going to Disney World or Disneyland. It's like that is not just, you're not just a fan, or you don't just respect some offerings in that universe. You actually want to live there. You
yeah,
actually want to be a part of it. You actually want the movies to keep on coming, and you will take it. You don't care if the films are subpar or the series are subpar.
yeah.
And that to me is wild, because I don't think I felt that way about any franchise.
So interesting.
It's interesting.
I think
The guy was like, I love all the Star Wars
I
stuff. Why
think
is there so much shit?
it definitely I think it definitely speaks to for some of these franchises that still have fans despite a more widespread critical
Right.
look on them
Yeah.
is also to do with the fact of their just sheer like breadth and volume of like content. Like because once you have so much stuff, then and it the more stuff you have, like the more there is for people who liked it to begin with. But it's not just like a oh I like everything. It's like a there's more to talk about, and I love talking about it, because I care about this core thing.
Yes.
So like
It's about caring about the core thing
yeah, yeah,
versus caring about the quality of the stories
yeah,
and the characters on top of it. That
yeah.
to me is
I
interesting,
yeah, like
because you and I can't not care about the quality of the stories.
I
Okay.
well, the thing is, the thing is, like I preach all the time about how much I care about perfect things. Like it's all perfect. There's no problems with it. Favorite shows, Avatar: The Last Airbender. There's nothing wrong with that show at all, even though you always find things wrong with it. But I'm like, that's perfect. Nothing can beat that. But then like I'm like a deep fan of Naruto, like the anime Naruto.
Yeah.
But that show objectively is not good. Like, oh, I mean, like it is, but but there are moments in that show like that feel like ass, just pure ass.
Right.
And I like what keeps me attached to that. Like it's something to do with that core thing that I love about it, but also it's like I step into it's like I step into how they're making it and like why they love it and why they're doing certain things.
Yes.
The creators, I mean. So and like no matter what comes out, I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna like some part of it. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like it's just like a love that doesn't really make that much sense. And
Yeah.
it's more of a feeling.
I mean, I would argue that I love the core elements of Tolkien, which we just did it was on Peter Jackson's. I would argue, but I was not enough that love of the core. I mean, I know a lot about the core elements of Middle Earth. You could
Yeah.
test me on Middle Earth,
Yeah.
but my point is that you could test me on Middle Earth, but now that they're making entire series out of the little trivial details in the appendices, maybe if they had made better, maybe if Rings of Power had been better, and maybe if The Hobbit had just not been 3 bloated films,
Yeah.
right? And then they had just done a better job of executing it. But it's really been testing my core love of all things Tolkien. I really do love Tolkien, the core thing.
Yeah.
The core thing about hobbits, elves, men, orcs. I love all that. But I do not like the expressions of storytelling that have happened on
Yeah.
top of it. So it's an interesting thing to think about in terms of franchises. When do you love the core things versus when do you want them desperately to keep on doing a better job at the storytelling part of
Yeah.
it, you know?
And when do you want them to start new stuff?
True.
Um, I'm not even sure what's like new lately that I guess I think they're trying to make Dune a franchise, but because they're
Yeah.
yeah, because they're making that a show and
Yeah. I usually lose interest after about book 3. So
yeah.
realize that I read franchises all the time,
Mm,
and almost all the sci-fi fantasy books I read come in groups of 2 or 3 or 5,
mhm.
right? And it's a rare book series that keeps me going until the very last one. There are very few, but there's not that many. All right, we should wrap this up because we've been going for a while, and this is going to be a beast to edit. But anyway, I'm
Has it really
glad.
been going for that long?
Yeah.
All right.
But I'm glad that you went to see Romulus.
Me
I'm
too.
glad we were able to sort of talk about the franchise. And highest respect. And also this might be, I have a lot of issues with James Cameron, but I think that Aliens might be one of my favorite movies of his, that and Terminator.
Oh yeah.
So
I haven't seen Terminator yet. And I know that's another franchise. This makes me want to actually watch the Alien vs Predator and also the Predator movies. I really wanted to see Prey because I had some friends that really like that.
yeah,
Um,
that was very well
yeah,
reviewed.
it's just like I love stuff like that. It's fun.
Yeah,
Especially when it's like entertaining. Like that's all I care about.
yeah.
Even if it's bad.
Anyway, I'm really happy you came home this weekend.
Yeah, me too.
And it was great to have the kids home. And hilarious to see them all watching Covenant together. But anyway, thank you, any of you who are still watching or listening. We really appreciate it, and we love doing this. But anyway, thanks, and I love you, Eric.
And I love you, Mom.
Yeah.
Alien. We love it. Okay, bye.